From the creator of Devil May Cry is a fantasy game set in feudal Japan, loosely based on the 1,000-year-old Japanese book, The Tale of Genji, that's experienced with a lot of action, soul wielding, and English. Yep. Well, the game Genji follows two heroes, Yoshitsune and Bankai, as they team up and embark to bring down the tyrannical rule of the Heike, who have become the dominant force in Japan using mystical stones known as Amahagane, that give the user enhanced power in combat. Thankfully, both characters each have a Amahagane, enabling them to have an edge over their enemies. The story has a really nice epic feel to it. Though very fanciful, you can feel the deep roots of the Japanese culture come to life in the game. The environments and buildings show a lot of detail and charm, especially the music that follows traditional Japanese themes to great effect. Unfortunately, the voice acting is really odd. Instead of choosing direct English voice actors that are common in most Japanese games that get international releases, everyone in Genji speaks in English in a very thick accent. This often leads words or whole sentences not being pronounced properly, or scenes looking more like a South Park skit.
I'm not hurt. Did he die?
Die? You must mean the beast.
Yeah. He was very kind and seemed sad.
Huh? What are you looking at, boy? Go away. Do you hear?
I refuse.
You refuse, do you? You're as brave as you are foolish.
The girl comes with me.
Seize your insolence.
I know the story is focusing on giving a very Japanese presentation, but this was a nagging issue across the entire game. I would have much preferred a straight Japanese dub than a crude amalgamation of the two languages. But there is an option to change the languages, yet still have English subtitles. But that's at the game's startup screen, something that I think most would just skip. But enough about the story, we need to get to the gameplay. After all, it's only 6 hours long. Oops, I'm getting ahead of myself. Being directed by the same person that breathed life into the high-octane third-person action genre, Genji is set in a similar mold as DMC. You move forward until some bad guys jump you, the way ahead and back are sealed, and you have to fight them to proceed, complete with a hit counter, a very restrictive camera, and stylistic moves on both sides of the fight. Moving around is still fast, but you're held back more often now, with battles usually taking place in smaller areas. Not only that, but you have to fight every battle you get into, no running past enemies this time. So it's cramped fighting with up to a dozen warriors. Thankfully, you can block most attacks, except for heavy ones dealt by bosses and bigger enemies. You've probably noticed that you can play as both characters, stopping them in and out at specific places. The control are mostly the same, but both are a bit tweaked. Bankai moves and hits slowly, but has the most health, and deals the heaviest amount of damage, making him essential in a boss fight. While Yoshitsune moves and cuts swiftly and is able to dodge enemy attacks. I prefer the latter, since you got greater movement and control in fighting. Another big addition is instead of having a devil meter, you have your kamui bars, which you gain by collecting Yamahaga of some defeated bosses. Using a kamui bar has you enter an extremely concentrated mode where you can counter incoming attacks for a critical hit. Even though you get a button prop, you still have to watch very carefully for just when they strike. It's very reminiscent of those classic Japanese films where they strike down a foe with one blow, and it does look really cool. It can be used on bosses for a heavy amount of damage, but you need to be wary since it leaves you completely open to getting yourself hit. At first, it's quite hard to press the button in time, but as soon as you figure out that as long as you have another kamui bar, you can slow down time even more, making it a breeze to hit enemies. From there, the game becomes pretty easy. You also have a light RPG system. You gain experience in combat that can be multiplied on how well you kill your enemies, and also an inventory system to store equipment like armor, weapons, and health items you can buy or pick up. Disappointingly though, instead of unlocking moves or upgrades with each new level, it just immediately increases your health, armor, and attack stats. I should also mention that both characters share the experience and levels. The most you can really do is a slight upgrade to the previously mentioned stats by picking up Yamahaga shards scattered across the environment. I mostly just use them to boost up my health, acting as an instant refill in combat. Unfortunately, though it does look really good, combat is very unengaging. I like it that you have different characters to choose from, but it's the same moves again and again with little difference. Yes, Devil May Cry was simplistic, but at least that had various weapons and abilities you could unlock. In Genji, you can buy different armor and weapons, but besides a minor aesthetic change, they still do the same stuff. The progression in the game, at first, looks a lot less linear than DMC. You have an overworld to explore, different environments to travel to. Some areas actually reward exploration. You might have come across a platform you can't reach, or a blocked path, so you might want to come back with a different character to get past that obstacle. But then, after the first chapter, the game just says, whatever, and then it becomes very, very directed. There's only one path you can take, and no need to use different characters. What's more is that the final parts of the game are just revisiting previous areas you've already traversed. It's a big drop of creativity and clever level design that annoyed the hell out of me. I feel that Genji could have been a very different game from DMC, with a stronger story focus and a unique level progression system. Instead you get a beautiful, yet kind of generic action game that only clocks in about 5 or 6 hours. But should you play it? Well, if you're a fan of action games, you'll get a good few kicks out of it. But if you couldn't give a damn about Devil May Cry, then this is not your game.